So a change that the story did that I really liked was not have the main location be in Woodsboro, or go back to there. Nothing against Woodsboro, but besides Scream 3 I believe, well, it is nice to see another location used. Another thing I liked about it was that the characters, mainly Sam and Tara, I felt like the handling of their trauma from their first Ghostface experience was better handled than Scream 2. The build-up from being scared to making a trap to fight back was executed good, I would say. In general, of all the franchise, well, the story for the main cast is better here. Though that is handled good, well, Act 3 did feel weak, though it's not from any of the core 4, it's from the killers. So Sam's progression was a step in the right direction. I like that the Woodsboro incident still shows obvious struggles for her, and that it makes her more overprotective of Tara, and that makes her realize that while yes, she wants to be part of her sister's life, she can't be so protective of her. Also, once again, her hallucination of Billy ends up helping her again, which is still interesting that she's using her inner darkness to protect herself and Tara. Tara is the only other character that also gets good development. I don't mind the whole trying to ignore the previous traumatic event and just wanting to move on plot for her. It worked for her here. I did like seeing that she's a bit capable of defending herself, like getting out of Ghostface's grasp for example. She actually managed to not get stabbed doing that, which I don't think anyone else has done. Her going from ignoring trauma to facing it head on, well, I had no issue with it. I really have nothing to say about Mindy other than she's alright. Nothing against the actress, it's just that she's obviously Randy's replacement, and while I have no issue with that, I just don't feel like she's been really written the best she could be. Chad was another character I honestly didn't care for. Nothing against the actor, it's just that Chad is just here to be a love interest to Tara, and that's really it. He just isn't interesting to me. Annika is another character who suffered from not being written to be interesting. She is just meant to be a love interest that gets killed off, and that's really it. Now I will say that Devin did a great job just delivering her character's final moments before her brutal death. It was good seeing a character from the fourth movie come back and not get murdered. Best I can say is that she was alright. She gets pushed to the side for a bit until like near the end where she comes up with the trap. I honestly would have loved the idea of a victim of a Ghostface attack being so messed up by that, which results in her taking up the mantle, but that doesn't happen. Danny I did like. I liked the scene of him trying to warn everyone that Ghostface is attacking their roommate, and that he ends up being the reason why everyone besides Annika survive. Now yes, he does get pushed to the sides. That I didn't mind since well, he is the newbie basically. I love that unlike Scream 2, that he doesn't get killed like Sydney's boyfriend. I honestly had no issue with him. Now I know that I shouldn't count him as a character since well, he's a hallucination, but like the last film, he is the one who convinces Sam to use her inner darkness to defend Tara and herself. He is the reason why Sam fought back twice. Yes, it still makes no sense how Sam would see him well, the way he is, since he would have died when she was like what? An infant. It's still cool to see him be her like wake-up call. For her last appearance, I would say this wasn't a bad send-off for her. I do like that she's finally the one getting a call from Ghostface, and that not only is her getting fame from making books off of the previous incidents coming back to bite her, but that she's even told that it's her time to pay. She's not evil, but her constantly making more fame off of a Ghostface incident has done so much damage to others that it is what causes her demise. I think that was an actually good way to get rid of a legacy character. I so would have preferred Jason being part of the main threat over Ethan and Quinn. Jason could have done the interesting change where we know who he is after he kills his professor, but instead of killing him, let him be part of the main threat. It would have been so cool to know that yeah, this dude is Ghostface, and be worried whenever he's with the main cast, since we don't know when he feels like performing his plan. I know that would have changed the whole guess who is one of the killers trope, but it would have been so interesting. I really wish he wasn't the killer who gets killed not very long into the film, just to show that there's multiple killers. I know I've said this multiple times, but nothing against the actors. I really don't have anything against them. Anyways, well, Quinn and Ethan are the most forgettable killers. I forgot about Quinn's existence and that she was supposedly murdered, same with Ethan. That train scene with Mindy and him is honestly the only good scene that he's in. They are such bland characters that they are like on the same level as Charlie in terms of being the most wasted killers. I really was hoping this film would have fixed the issue the last film had, where only one killer was the interesting one until the other revealed themselves. Instead it made the issue worse. I just found them so not interesting. Detective Bailey is pretty much the only good killer out of the three. He has the better execution of being the parent of one of the previous killers compared to Mrs. Loomis. He worked better because unlike Loomis, he actually gets multiple interactions with the main cast. He was a good example of being a better replacement of a character. I love the idea of a detective being one of the Ghostface killers. It works. He was such an interesting killer. Hell, he actually did convince me that Kirby might be one of the killers. He was easily a step in the right direction for being an antagonist. I really don't feel like anything about him should have been changed. For pros, well, like I've said, Sam and Tara's character development for themselves I did feel like worked exactly the way it should have. I don't have an issue with the execution. Having the core 4 move felt like a nice refresh, since seeing other locations is such a nice change. Ghostface in the store was one of the best scenes. Just seeing him use a shotgun was one of my favorite moments from the franchise. The murder of Annika was another great kill from Ghostface, since I actually felt really bad for her and because she was close to making it. The music was the best here, especially with the 2 vocal songs, In My Head and Still Alive. Also, I already said this, but I appreciate that Kirby was spared, since I want to see someone besides Sidney reappear in this franchise, especially a character from the 4th one. Now, speaking about Sidney, this is probably gonna be controversial, but leaving her out for a film I felt like worked better. Now, I'm not defending that Campbell wasn't treated well. I am absolutely not. I am against that. Anyways, look, I understand Sidney is the most important character, but having it where the new girl doesn't have Sidney to help her makes the challenge of survival feel stronger, since well, Sidney did help give an advantage in the last film due to her experience. Once again, not defending the awful treatment of Campbell. The other pros I had are that well, the detective is easily one of the best killers, and I do like the idea of a shrine that's just having all stuff previous Ghostface killers used. My last pro would be the last fight. I actually felt like this was one of the stronger showdowns, just the whole family actually felt fucking berserk. A major issue I had is well, about the killers. It's not a good thing that when, for example, Quinn revealed herself, my genuine reaction was, "Who are you?" Ethan and Quinn are only good for like 20 seconds. Besides that, they suffer from being so forgettable, and I really was hoping this film would make both killers interesting, but that chance gets hurt by introducing a third one, which could have worked if the movie was longer. Quinn's fake out should have been put at a later part of the movie instead of before, like the hour mark, and Ethan should have had more interactions. The killers are just as important. They should be treated as such and not as just blandish. A small issue for me was that the relationship between Tara and Chad felt so boring. Nothing against both characters, but it just felt like it was there just to be there. I know someone could say the same about Danny, but I disagree since he was more interesting. Nitpicks aside now, my only other issues are that well, Jason and Kirby would have been more interesting as the killers. I'm not gonna repeat my reasons why I think they would, since I've repeated some things multiple times. I just think those were missed major opportunities to do that would have been so interesting. My last issue is how this ghost face was being falsely marketed as being the most dangerous, but besides the one shotgun scene, well, that was a fucking lie. So for my final thoughts, well, I did enjoy this. I will say it is one of the better entries from this franchise. It's basically the better version of Scream 2, minus the two killers part. Now while I enjoyed it, I don't believe this should be labeled as just as good as the original or even, let's say, the second best. I still recommend this film though, despite the weak killers issue. I give this film a 7.0 out of 10.